in the West, most of the forests used to burn quite regularly, every 10 to 20 years. And it turns out that that fire is what shapes and really directs the ecological health and the functioning of the system. I'm Malcolm North. I'm a research scientist with the Forest Service and also a professor of plant sciences at UC Davis. I've been involved in forestry for about 35 years in many different areas, but it still continues to fascinate me. Particularly with decisions made back in the 1920s and 30s to start extinguishing all fires, we created a difficult situation in the forests because most of them are overly dense and have a real fuel loading problem. If you do get fire back into those type of conditions, the fire is no longer restoring the ecosystem. It burns hot enough and intense enough, often into the overstory crowns of the trees, to many times kill the entire forest, all the trees within it. So my research in particular focused on this issue of how we would restore these forests. And the short answer is that you need to be able to reduce the density of the forest and the fuel loads, and that a combination of an understory thinning treatment followed by fire was the best treatment for actually jump-starting the system. Yeah, this is a great example here with this large tree and its neighbors. Just look at the size of that tree. It's the very type of structure that we really want to hold on to. But it's threatened by these smaller trees that have filled in its neighbors, both in terms of competing for water out of the soil, but also in terms of these smaller trees' ability to transfer a surface fire up into the overstory crown of the larger tree, possibly killing it under certain conditions. We need to use every tool that we have because we are way behind the level of fuels reduction that should be going on in these forests each year. Industry has a real role to play in this because there's a really important role for thinning in strategic places, but it's different than the way we think of it. We often think of using thinning to suppress or contain the fire. So rather than using the thinning to put the fire out, you're actually using the thinning as an initial point to put fire back into the forest. One of the problems we face with reintroducing fire is it's a very difficult decision for land managers to make. For very understandable reasons is you get pushback from powerful politicians, from a public which is mad about the smoke being produced, and people who are conscious about the costs. It often is more expensive to stand back and let the fire get bigger and bigger. If we don't change our approach, we will have generations who will not see large trees, will not see the type of forest that we've grown accustomed to. And in some places you'll lose the forest entirely because with the change in climate conditions, they won't come back as trees, it'll come back as chaparral or various shrub types of communities. Where I've seen a lot of progress made with this is in collaborative efforts. And the essence of collaborative efforts is people sitting down and listening to each other's opinion and beginning to trust each other. And it is not an easy process. It takes a lot of time. But you can eventually get to a point, and I've been on some of these collaboratives, where everybody, when they walk out into the forest, agrees on generally what should be done. And at that point, you can actually get agreement on these situations and move forward to get the forest back to a healthy condition.